Hi everyone, I'm Jeffrey Schoaf. Welcome to 10 Minutes of Yoga Therapy. Today we're going to focus on breath work. I'm going to call today's practice the power of the exhalation. I don't know about you, maybe it's because of what I do, but my social media feeds and emails are full of all kinds of new ways to breathe, and many of them are really interesting and really good, and there are as many different ways to breathe as there are people who are breathing. That being said, I see a lot of dysfunctional breathing patterns, and it creates all kinds of issues from, respiratory ailments to poor posture to anxiety, all kinds of things that can happen as a result of improper breath patterning. So I'm going to teach you a little bit about that today. One of the most important things that we can remember when we're doing a breath practice is this thing that my teacher called a container. It's your torso, right? And so when we are breathing, we want to make sure that we've got the biggest container that we can reasonably have. We also want to make sure when we're breathing that we're going to breathe through our nose and not our mouth for most of the breath practices, because the nose is this amazing filter. It slows down our breathing. It filters out toxins. It helps us get more of a complete exchange of gases into all the lobes of the lungs. Gets that oxygen into the alveoli, the little air sacs that shunt it out to the capillaries that gets this oxygen into our bloodstream and into our whole body. So it's super important. The interesting thing about breathing is I find a lot of people that use too much effort to do it. Patrick McEwen in his book, The Breathing Cure, talks about, I love this acronym, LSD, light, slow, and deep. To do this, the way that I've learned it best is to emphasize the exhalation, which requires that we engage our abdominal muscles when we breathe out. The thing that comes to my mind, the visual, is a kitchen sponge. If you hold a sponge under the kitchen sink and let water run on it and start to wring it out, you can always wring out a little bit more water, right? And then you let that sponge go under the water and it fills out beautifully. So that's the pattern, and that's what we're trying to do with the respiratory diaphragm, right? We're trying to get as much range of motion as we can, and we get that by squeezing empty the core. We draw the belly in as we breathe out, and then we have to be willing to let the belly stretch out as we breathe in. A lot of people reverse breathe. They do just the opposite, but that's the pattern, that's the technique. Is exhale, squeeze empty. Inhale, let it go. The things that you want to think about is when you practice breathing techniques, it's best to practice on an empty stomach. It's best to have a quiet place, and it's best to carve out some time before and after your practice to integrate it. Because essentially what we're doing here is we're trying to activate our parasympathetic nervous systems. Let's face it, we are living in a supercharged sympathetic world, right? There's stimulation coming from everywhere. And kind of like your computer, when it's acting up and it freezes, how do we fix it? We power down. We wait a little bit, power back on, everything works beautifully. Same with our nervous system. We can only take too much stimulation until we're in a sense of overwhelm, okay? So we want to give it time, right? And the power of breath is one of the best and most effective ways I know to do that. So find a comfortable seat. For me, I'm a yoga teacher. I'm comfortable on the floor, on my mat with a little cushion to get my hips a little bit higher than my knees, and I'm sitting comfortably cross-legged. If that does not work for your body, you could lean against a wall. You could also lie down on your back with your knees bent. But wherever you are, just find a place to where you feel like this container is about as big as it can reasonably be. And let's just start to notice our breath pattern right now, just as it is. Notice which side of the breath you feel the most. Is it the inhale side? Is it the exhale side? because in a moment we're going to start to emphasize that exhale side. We're going to work toward a 6-6 breath pattern, which means we're going to breathe out for a count of 6, and we're going to breathe in for a count of 6. And as a reminder, the stronger you draw the abdominals in, the more willing you have to be to let them expand outward. And that happens all the way around the body. It's just not in the front, in the abdomen. It's on the sides and on the back of the body as well. And it's subtle, but there should be this feeling of a slight expansion, 360 degrees, all around the waist. Also, when I'm seated, I like to turn my palms up because it opens the chest and lengthens the spine, and it feels nice. And now let's start to work toward that 6-6 breath pattern. And if you can't get there, don't worry about it. If you're newer to the practice, just like anything else, we work up to it. We're exercising and toning muscles. It takes time. And to help you along to kind of notice what I'm doing, I'm going to create this ocean sound. In Sanskrit, it's called the ujjayi, or victory sound. So it's kind of like the sound that you would hear if you held a conch shell up to your ear if you were at the beach, or just hearing the distant tide going in and out. And you could keep going. You could keep your breath pattern this way. Again, please make sure you give yourself time after you practice to integrate it. Just sit still for a few moments. Notice your nervous system. Notice the quality of your thoughts. Notice if perhaps you're a little calmer inside. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this brief tutorial on the power of the exhalation. I'm Jeffrey Shove. Please go to my website to check out more of my offerings. That's JEFFREYSHOAF.com. Thanks for watching. I really enjoyed teaching you today, and I'll see you real soon. Take care.